This is FM 90.3 WJTL, New Tunes at 9. 1 hour of new and emerging music. The new song by the Rhett Walker Band, Love Like Jesus, off their record Here's to the Ones, one of my favorite discs from 2014. I thought that band would be a good lead into our guest for tonight, singer-songwriter Mitch McVicker, who's playing a show next Wednesday, January 14th. He's actually playing select dates in this area here. Wednesday, January 14th at 7 o'clock. It's a free will offering show at the Evangelical UM Church, corner of Main Street and Diller Avenue in New Holland. Mitch McVicker is my guest here tonight on New Tunes at 9. His latest project is called The Gray, When Black and White Fade. Check out MitchMcVicker.com. His music also available on iTunes. We have a link to his homepage up now on the WJTL Facebook page. And Mitch, welcome back to New Tunes at 9 and JTL.
Oh, thank you, Phil. Thanks for having me.
It's great to hear your voice on the radio. Let's talk about this new record again. We had you on a few months ago when you were here previously, and I was here for a show you did, and I just really enjoyed your music and your presentation, and it's just amazing to me, too, because you're very, I guess I could say, an idiosyncratic songwriter, but also that kind of transcends, in your live performance as well, because as I was taking some notes when you were playing, I wrote down grit, sweat, childlike whimsy, and then I put down a lot of found objects, hubcaps, and you have, looks like you went through your shed, like for a rummage sale, and you pulled out all the stops, and I call them like annoying lawn ornaments, like pink flamingos and things like that. Just give me a sense of when you began to drape and kind of cloak your music in the imagery that you have on stage. How'd that kind of take shape?
Gosh, it was a ride that I didn't really know that I was on. It was happening. I've always tried to take kind of as practical and a simple approach to music as I can. So I like the words that you just used. My kind of jumping off point was just going, music is everywhere. It's in all things, and so I would like to use all things, whatever, to make music. And so I've tried to do that just with various household items and junk and stuff that you don't look at and go, wow, that's musical. So I try and do it with try and put it to songs that do have some substance to them, hopefully, but are at the same time entertaining and catch your ear, and can ultimately point you beyond yourself towards Jesus. And so I'm not sure how it all came about. I'm just grateful that it has up to this point, and who knows where things go from here.
Well, I love the way it comes across. It almost defies categorization. And kind of to your point about kind of things kind of developing on stage, there's music all around us. The wind makes music. We slam the car door. There's a sound. There's the sound of an ironing board opening up. There's so much music around us. The world is full of music, and not necessarily recorded sound, but in real time. Things are found sounds and found objects, and that's what I think makes what you do so special. I could tell that was connecting with the kids and also the adults alike. So kudos to you for a very unique show, something highly unusual, but I think it really comes together, and you can see Mitch McVicker live in concert, the Dove Award-winning singer-songwriter. Next Wednesday, January 14th, is playing at the Evangelical UM Church. That's at the corner of Main Street and Diller Avenue in New Holland. MitchMcVicker.com. The record, The Gray, When Black and White Fade, Mitch, is just so full of lots of wonderful imagery, and really at the heart of what you do is your love for Christ, but from a more practical standpoint, from a presentation standpoint, your harmonica and your guitar kind of drive your songs. And the one I want to start with tonight is the track called In Other Words, because this is a song wrought with imagery, and not pleasant imagery at that, but you talk about hanging with the drunkards and those who have killed, meet with the adulterers and all hell's clientele, hang with the junkies, hang with the liars, and then here's the jumping up point. In other words, me. Talk about that song, In Other Words.
But I'm pretty much, in my estimation, I'm not saying anything different from what, Jesus talked about that we are if you've lusted after another one, you're an adulterer. If you've held another person in contempt and disliked somebody, you're a murderer. So it's the motive of the heart that is of concern for Jesus and should be of our concern, of our greatest concern. For that's where all actions come from. That's where all words come from. And the Lord God communicates with our hearts, and often we try and approach Him with our minds and with our actions, with very surface things. And so I'm just simply trying to say, you know what, we're all in this together. I don't know anyone that can't say that they are one of those people that I mentioned. And so hopefully everybody can relate to this song and go, you know what? Well, gosh, Jesus said, these are the people that won't inherit the kingdom of heaven. Those who've lied, those who've stolen, those who've killed, murderers, the adulterers, and the list goes on. And it doesn't leave out anybody. I mean, everybody would be included in that. So basically, apart from Jesus, we are all in a heap of trouble. And so it's for me, it's a hopeful song, just because it's a statement of our depravity next to the salvific grace of God.
Well spoken. No one is exempt. Here's that song called In Other Words. My guest here tonight on New Tunes at 9 is Mitch McVicker. The record, The Gray When Black and White Fade. Mitch in concert next Wednesday, January 14th at 7 o'clock. Evangelical UM Church. That's in New Holland. All the details up on our WJTO Facebook page. Just click on the New Tunes at 9 playlist. We've got links to Mitch and all the shows. Here's that new song called In Other Words. Mitch McVicker. FM 90.3 WJTL, New Tunes at 9. Mitch McVicker. The record, The Gray When Black and White Fade. A song with the subtitle. Record with the subtitle, too. In Other Words is that song. Mitch McVicker, next Wednesday, January 14th at 7 o'clock at the Evangelical UM Church, corner of Main Street and Diller Avenue in New Holland. Says here a free will offering will be taken. Mitch McVicker is my guest here tonight on New Tunes at 9. Mitch, as that song was playing, we were just talking, because I don't think you play keyboards for the most part, but on that track, in other words, there's a lot of really moody atmospheric keyboards, and tell me who that is, and talk about that relationship that you have with that artist.
Yeah, that's one of my best friends in the world, Michael Ockefer. He is a wonderful, wonderful musician, the hardest worker that I know. He presently is a music director at a church up in Chicago, and we grew up in Kansas together, went to college together, and then we both played music with Rich Mullins as we were getting into doing music, and he traveled with me for a year or so after the wreck, after I started doing music on my own. And he's been with me, been making music, been making records with me for a long, long time, and he's the best. I feel very fortunate to get to work with him. He did play really moody stuff on that particular song. That's what we were going for. It's a bunch of real moody and vibey sounds to communicate the lyric, and he is all over the whole record. He played drums and percussion, and he arranged the strings, which are beautiful and really speak and throughout the whole album.
That sounds wonderful. Mitch McVicker, my guest here tonight on New Tunes at 9. Wednesday, January 14th, which is next week already at the Evangelical Church, corner of Main Street and Diller Avenue in New Holland. Check out MitchMcVicker.com. His music available now on iTunes. This record was funded by a successful Kickstarter campaign. The new record's called The Gray When Black and White Fade. Next up is a song called Being Held. It's maybe the most tender track on the record, and it's got that melancholy introduction and just those violins. I always say if you're going to put violins on a record, Mitch, they need to ache. Violins need to ache. And these violins do ache. And you talk about being wrapped up in strong arms, and you hold my soul right next to my heart. Again, really strong lyrics. Very simple, very direct lyrics. And then the violins just kind of provide this cushion of comfort for the song. Talk about that song, Being Held.
It is just it's kind of a heart's cry. It is, I don't know, it's a desire for intimacy with God, and realizing that is something that we don't experience often enough, but something that is available to us, something that the Lord is seeking to connect with us in an intimate way, and yeah, the violins are aching. The strings are melancholy, but it's a very, for me, one of the most beautiful things. Let's see, how do I say this? When something is painful, when something is beautiful, it's often has a little pain attached to it. It just kind of, makes your heart fold over in a tight way or something, and you feel something in your chest when something is really beautiful. And so I was simply, it's a prayer. I was just lost in trying to communicate with God in as intimate way as I could, out of my brokenness, and because once again I'm back at this point where God communicates with us through our heart, and often we try and approach God with our mind, and so I was just trying to live in the heart's spot a little bit.
Well, let's play that song. Mitch McVicker, my guest tonight on WJTL. New Tunes at 9. His show is next week. It's Wednesday, January 14th at the Evangelical Church in New Holland. Mitch's latest project, The Gray When Black and White Fade. This song is a prayerful song. It's written by Mitch, and here it is for you right now called Being Held on FM 90.3 WJTL on New Tunes at 9. I told you ahead of time those strings would ache, as they should, and they do. In other words, is that song from The Gray When Black and White Fade. Mitch McVicker, my guest, will be in our area next Wednesday, January 14th. He's playing in New Holland. It's the Evangelical United Methodist Church, the corner of Main Street and Diller Avenue in New Holland. More details on The Gray When Black and White Fade. Check out MitchMcVicker.com. Mitch is our guest here tonight on New Tunes at 9. Last time I talked to you, Mitch, we were talking about your songwriting process, and the quote that I wrote down, you said, basically, I'm trying to capture what's going on inside of me. I'm trying to document what's happening. So give me a sense of what you found inside of you during the process of this record and the recording of it.
Oh gosh, that is a massive question. What I have found is that God communicates with us in all circumstances, in all situations, through whatever. Whether that be what gets our attention each day, through walking down the street, through what billboards you see, what is being communicated, what is seeping inside you, what the TV shows that catch your attention, the songs that catch your attention. There is something thematic in it, and it's what God is trying to get which is the point that God is trying to get across to you, and it's different all the time. I am one that I'm learning more and more that well, I'm back here, that I think too small when I approach things with my mind. I want to open myself up to the vastness of God, to the grayness of God's love and God's kingdom, and not have everything calculated out in a measure that I think that it should be or should go or anticipate it to go. I wanna write songs that are reflective. You know, I won't, when I walk out into my backyard, and because I live right on the edge of the Appalachian Mountains in Georgia, and when I go out there and I look and I go, gosh, look at that beautiful tree. I want to write a song like that. You know, so that's kind of what's been mulling around inside of me.
Well, it sounds like what you're trying to say is maybe in your hearts, maybe consciously or subconsciously, you're trying to capture the vastness of Christ, the vastness, the enormity of Christ around you, and to maybe encapsulate those thoughts, those words in song. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that would be very accurate. The vastness is something that I'm trying to get at, but it's something that could never be captured.
Yeah, it's elusive, right? It's a bit elusive, right? But thus, that's what kind of propels you as a songwriter, is it not?
It is, and that's you know, the Apostle Paul spoke a lot about the mystery of Christ, and I think that's what it is. It's not everything adding up the way that we think that it will, and having a proper understanding. It's going, man, sometimes I don't have a clue about any of this, but I love being in the middle of it.
Mitch McVicker, my guest here tonight on WJTL during New Tunes at 9. It's always fun talking to Mitch. You can check out Mitch's, I guess we'll call it like a musical rummage show and live performance. Coming up next week is Found Objects, Hubcaps, and we got like a mop, and there's a pink flamingo on stage, and all things from the shed, and they open up the toolbox, and he's got his loops and his guitar and his harmonica. Don't miss Mitch McVicker next week. It's coming up on Wednesday. The show, January 14th at the Evangelical Church, the corner of Main Street and Diller Avenue in New Holland. Here is a song by Mitch McVicker tonight. By the way, Mitch, let me just say to you, Happy New Year, okay?
Well, thank you. Happy New Year to you.
Here's a song called All Things.